Hello everyone, I'm Victoria and I'm so happy to have you here. If you've seen my videos before, you're probably going to notice that the lighting is different. I'm just trying something new since sometimes I do have to film at night rather than filming during the day with natural light. So I'd appreciate your feedback if you like this type of setup with like the colored light. I want to hear what you think. Okay, so I want to preface this entire video by just saying up front that this is still a developing investigation and I definitely don't have all the details. But I will continue to watch this case and get you an update as soon as more information has come out. I also want to thank one of my subscribers, Becky, for recommending this case to me. I hadn't heard about it at all, so I really appreciate you telling me the name of the victim we're speaking about today and bringing it to my attention because, like I said, I really haven't heard anything about him. And if anyone else has a case that they'd like to suggest to me to speak about, you can leave that suggestion in the comments below. And with that, let's get into the tragic murder of Chaos Demilo. I would like to note that Chaos's full name is Chaos Demilo McCarthy. Some sources differed on if McCarthy was included or not, so I did make that mistake, but his full name is Chaos Demilo McCarthy. On August 25th, 2022, residents of the Montrose Township of Genesee County, Michigan, made a horrifying discovery. Along an out-of-the-way stretch of North Moorish Road, a resident noticed a bundle of blankets in a ditch. And when they got a closer look, they discovered that these blankets concealed the body of a young boy. It would take only a short amount of time to identify the body as that of 16-month-old Chaos Demilo. It also did not take long for an arrest to be made. In fact, the arrest was made even before Chaos's name was shared with the public. The man charged with the murder of Chaos Demilo was his own father, Michael Butler. The story of Chaos's short life is very sad, and it shows that he was failed in multiple ways along the way. In June of 2022, Christina McCarthy and her 4 children were in hard times. Chaos was the youngest of 4 and the only boy. The family would often seek shelter in abandoned homes in the area or even at homeless shelters. And in June of 2022, we know that they were living in an abandoned home. According to a report written by the Mount Morris Township Police that was obtained by the Flint Journal, there was no running water, there was no electricity, and there was no electrical meter on the outside of the house. The house should have been or was condemned and was in the process of being fixed up. There was no food or necessities in the house itself. And because of this discovery by police and this report, even though I believe the family was in a homeless shelter by the time Child Protective Services came, CPS did come and take 3 of Christina's 4 children from her. The Genesee County prosecutor, David Layton, explained that Christina's children were taken away from her because they were living in an abandoned house under very difficult circumstances, and Mom had issues of her own. Child Protective Services took the children into temporary custody as they began to determine the best guardians to take custody of them. Now, I don't know any of the custody details about the other children who were taken away, but in the case of Chaos, the Department of Health and Human Services strongly recommended against giving custody of Chaos to his father, Michael Butler. Michael is a convicted felon with a history of violence and domestic violence. The Department of Health and Human Services made it clear to the courts and petitioned the judge not to give Michael custody and rather ask them to place Chaos in a temporary foster home. In an interview after Chaos's death, Christina talked about, Michael's attitude toward Chaos and his role as a father to Chaos, and I do believe a lot of that contributed to the department specifically recommending against him having custody. She said, "He's chaotic. He can't handle chaos. He's never even been there. He rejected him, says he's someone else's kid. I couldn't even get him to bring me diapers." But despite this information being laid out with very clear reasons why, the judge, for some reason, decided to award custody of Chaos to Michael Butler. I don't know why a judge would go against such a clear recommendation from Health and Human Services to not give someone custody, but he did. I don't know those details yet, but I am planning on looking for them as more information comes out. Though I'm not sure of the exact date, Michael was granted custody of Chaos sometime in July or early August. The last day Chaos was seen alive was August 9th, 2022, and Chaos was found dead on August 25th, 2022. The autopsy of Chaos's body showed that he'd suffered blunt force injury to the head, and it is believed that that injury likely caused his death. The exam also revealed that Chaos had likely been dead for between 2 and 4 weeks. Now, we don't know a lot of the details about how, when, or why this happened, but if August 9th is the confirmed last day that Chaos was seen alive, then that means he was probably very likely killed on the 9th or shortly thereafter. The autopsy also revealed that Chaos had methamphetamine in his body at the time of his death. Currently, the coroner is trying to determine if the drug got into Chaos by way of ingestion or by a passive method. Like, did he just absorb it or inhale it because it was in the area and stuff like that can go through the skin, or if it was like on a table he could have inhaled it? Or did he actually manage to get a hold of some of it and eat it because he's a toddler? I know that the court proceedings for Michael have currently been stalled because of this further investigation, with the coroner trying to determine how Chaos ingested these drugs. The coroner is currently trying to determine if the cause of death was the drugs or if it was the blunt force trauma, and they're also waiting to see if they need to charge Butler with anything else. And speaking of charges, Michael has been charged with felony murder, first-degree child abuse, concealing a dead body, and third-party offense domestic violence. Now, I wish I could say that this is the first time that the systems put in place to protect children failed a child, but we all know I can't, nor can I say that this will be the last time. Sadly, I've come to believe that the social services currently in place in the United States do just as much bad as they do good, if not more. Obviously, people have looked to the legal system in Genesee County to wonder how this could happen. Prosecutor Layton has admitted to the failings of the county in this situation, but he's also explained why they believed that Christina was an unfit guardian at the time they removed Chaos and her other children from her guardianship. An explanation, Layton said that the family was essentially homeless at the time the children were removed. And as I mentioned earlier, he said that, the conditions weren't good in that home and that Christina was supposedly facing some issues of her own. And in acknowledgement of the fact that it had been recommended against Michael Butler receiving custody of Chaos, Layton said, "But the father did get custody of the child, and of course the most tragic of all things occurred." I don't think I need to really highlight how unimpressive that response is. No one from Genesee County has currently expanded on what problems beyond homelessness would have prevented Christina from being able to properly take care of her children. I'm not saying that children in homeless situations, when there's not enough resources or food or warmth or any of those essential things they need, shouldn't be taken out of those situations, even if it's just to help the parents get on their feet for a little while. But what I am asking is, how is living with an uninvolved father who has a history of violence toward those in his home better than staying in a homeless situation with a loving parent or going to temporary foster care? If the county is going to claim that this homeless situation was so dangerous, it's ridiculous that they then put Chaos in an even more dangerous situation, claiming that this was somehow for his own good. Christina has been quoted as saying, "I've always been able to take care of my children no matter where or what's going on. It's in me. I would never leave my children in darkness. I'm their mother." It seems that placing children in unfit homes may be something that the county has done multiple times. Christina alleged, "They gave all my kids to 3 dangerous people and let them kill my baby boy." Based on how much is missing of the explanation of what happened to Chaos, and with comments both from Prosecutor Layton and Christina, I believe that a lot more information is going to come out. For one, Layton briefly mentioned that Christina was facing problems of her own. I believe that this is something that Genesee County will talk about later to try to explain why the kids were taken from Christina. I do think that they've pretty much taken ownership of the fact that it was recommended that Chaos not be given to Michael, but I do think they're still going to argue that this was somehow the best move at the time. I don't know how they're going to do that, but we'll see what happens. And that is just my thought, just my opinion. They may not say anything, but based on some of the comments that have been made, I have a feeling that some information like that is going to come out from them. I also think that more information is going to come out about the full investigation because of some of the comments that have been made. The medical examiner's office is still trying to determine Chaos's cause of death, and that may or may not affect the charges against Michael. Also, there was a quote about them knowing that Chaos was missing at some point, but it was just kind of breezed over, just thrown in the article, and they moved on from it. Christina said, "I knew he was missing. Michael would not produce or show the well-being of Chaos. I knew something was wrong. I could feel it." And based on that, it seems that at some point Child Services realized that Chaos was missing and asked Michael to produce him to show them where he was, and he couldn't do so. As I said, I don't really know a lot of the details about the investigation or exactly what happened to Chaos, but I do believe that this situation is a very good example of how the current social services in place in the United States fail the very people they're supposed to protect. The system is broken. It doesn't work as it is, and literal babies are dying because of that. I honestly don't know everything that will need to be done to fix those systems, but something has to be done, and I know it's going to be a lot. A starting point, though, could be to learn more about the judges that you're electing in your local areas. I wasn't able to find the name of the judge in this custody case, but I will include it in the next video if I can find it. Judges don't usually have to worry about much legal repercussions from the decisions that they make. It's pretty much a safety net for them to be able to make the decisions that they feel are right in the moment, whether they are right or not. And so it can be really hard to get them removed from office or have anything like that happen. And maybe there is evidence that for some reason the judge thought this was the best option at the time, but I doubt whoever they are, they will face repercussion. But judges are elected officials, and it's important to know the history of the type of decisions they've made and the type of cases they've supported in the past. If we know the type of decisions our judges are making, we can decide if we want to re-elect them in the future or elect them to begin with. No matter what happens now, though, it doesn't change the fact that Chaos's life was stolen from him at only 16 months old after having what seemed like a hard life. There have been a few small memorials built to Chaos in the Genesee County area, and I'm including some pictures of them now. Christina decided not to have a funeral for Chaos, but she did appreciate the support from the community and that everyone was outraged at what happened. And sadly, I wasn't able to find out a lot about little Chaos himself. In only one article, Christina was quoted as saying, "Such a good kid. He was so loving. He didn't deserve this." He didn't. Chaos was completely innocent in all of this, and yet he is the biggest victim. It honestly just breaks my heart, and my love goes out to Christina, Chaos's siblings, and everyone else who loves Chaos. And for now, that's all I have for you on this case. I will absolutely be keeping an eye on this case so I can provide you an update in the future. And I'm also very interested in hearing your thoughts on this case, so please leave your comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!